Alright, hi guys. This video is on something called measures of center and spread. So if you're watching this video, we are probably in class working on collecting data and how to analyze data. And there's so many different things you can do when you collect a bunch of data from something. One of the things you need to do is be able to describe it to others. And so one tool we have is we measure the spread and the center. And these first three, mean, median, and mode, are ways of measuring the center of the data in the middle. Range is a way of measuring the spread. So we're going to do a quick video here on what do these four things mean and how do you calculate them. Just kind of some fast stuff. So to give you kind of an example here, let's start with mean first. And mean is typically called the average. So when I say we're going to calculate mean, your mind should automatically be thinking, I want to find the average of something. What's the average? So to give you an example, we're going to make up a problem here. Let's say you go out and you survey your class and you ask all your classmates, how many people live in your house? So you go around the room and they say, oh, 4 people live in my house, or 5 people live in my house, or 3 people live in my house. And you take all those numbers that everyone tells you and you create a list. And basically you've collected some data. So here's our data. You've gone out, you've asked your classmates, and this is what they've told you. 3 people, 4 people, 5 people, 5 people. You can see the numbers here. This is the number of people living in their houses. So it looks like you asked 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 students. You've asked 10 students and you've collected some data. Let's find the mean, which means let's find the average for this data. On average, how many people are living in somebody's house out of your classmates? So the average is fairly simple to calculate. All you have to do is add up all the values and divide by the number that there are. So add them all up, literally take each number, 3 plus 4 plus 5 plus 5 plus 4 plus 5 plus 3 plus 7 plus 4 plus 6. Add them all up and then divide by how many people you asked. And we said 10, right? Let me double check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yep, there's 10. So we're going to divide by 10. And in algebra, usually with division, we use the fraction line to show that. Most of this is just number crunching. So you can either sit here and do it in your head, pretty fast probably. I would hope you could do this really fast. Or you can reach for a calculator and crunch the numbers in your calculator. That's fine too. Either way, we just want to figure out what this value is. So let's just add these numbers up real fast. 3 plus 4 plus 5 plus 5 plus 4 plus 5 plus 3 plus 7 plus 4 plus 6. There we go, 46. So we add all these numbers up, we get 46. And a common mistake is people will get really busy into adding up all the numbers and forget the final task, which is to divide by 10. A lot of times people will say 46 is the answer, but think about what that means. We're trying to find the average. What's the average number of people living in your classmates' houses? The average number of people is not 46. People do not have 46 people living in their house. So don't forget the final step to divide by 10. And 46 divided by 10, you all know what that is. It's 4.6. If you don't believe me, 46 divided by 10, 4.6. So what we're going to do is say, on average, there are 4.6 people living in a house. That's our mean. Now we all know there can't be 0.6 of a person living in a house, but we're not going for an exact number here. We're going for the average. So the average is 4.6. And I'm going to write a statement here. On average, my classmates have close to 4.6 people living in their house. People living in their house. On average, my classmates have close to 4.6 people living in their house. Okay, So let's talk about another value. What if we wanted to calculate the median? What's the median? So let's talk about that. So my definition for median, and remember, pause the video and be writing these definitions down. My definition for median is it's just literally the middle number of the data. When you line up the numbers from smallest to biggest, least to greatest, it's the middle value. So I always remember that if you have a hard time not mixing these up or something, M and D for median is M and D for middle, the middle of the data. And it's important that you write this down. It's the middle of the data when in order from least to greatest. So these numbers aren't in order. These are just the numbers that I collected from my classmates. I need to put them in order from small to big. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go through these data points. And I think the smallest number we have is 3 people living in a house, right? Yep, that's the smallest number. So I'm going to put the 3 here. We have another 3 here. So I'll put that in order. And I'll just cross these out as I go along so I don't make any mistakes. So now we have 4. So 4, 4, so 4 and 4. Oh, here's another 4. And now it's 5. 1, 2, 3, 5. So 5, 5, 5. Lots of people with 5 people living in their houses. And then we have a 6 and a 7. We have some bigger families with 6 people and 7 people living in the house. Perfect. All right, there's my data in order from small to big, least to greatest. Now I'm just going to go to the center and find my median. So I'm going to work my way in. So 3 and 7, 6 and 3, 4 and 5. See how I kind of worked my way to the center? And I actually have 2 numbers in the center, 4 and 5. They're kind of sharing the middle here. So if there's 2 numbers in the center, I'm going to average them. 4 plus 5 divided by 2. Just find the average of those numbers. And 4 plus 5 is 9. So I'm going to have 9 divided by 2, and 9 divided by 2 is 4.5. And logically, I can kind of think in my head, what's in the middle of 4 and 5? Oh, 4.5. So my median is equal to 4.5. That's my middle value. Really close to our average, because remember what we got for our answer on our average on the last page? We got 4.6. So all of these numbers are measuring the center of our data. On average, there's about 4.6 people living in the house. The median is 4.5 people living in the house. Let's talk about the mode. The mode is the number that measures the most of what's going on. So mode is the data point or the number you see the most in the data. What number do you see the most? And if you're mixing these up and forgetting which one's mean, median, and mode, mode has the MO for mode. And I always remember the word most has MO also. So mode and most. Just a way I kind of remember these things. So what number do we see the most of? Because there's a lot of repeat numbers. For instance, how many 3s are there? Well, there were 2 3s. We see a lot of 3s. Okay, there's 2 3s. How many 4s were there? There was 1, 2, 3 4s. 1, 2, 3 4s. We see a lot of those. There was also 3 5s. 1, 2, 3 5s. There's only 1 6 and 1 7. So the number we're seeing the most of are the 4s and the 5s. There's actually a tie. There are 3 5s and 3 4s. So our mode is going to be 4 and 5. It's going to be 2 modes. We see the most of 4s and 5s. There's 3 of the 4s and 3 of the 5s. So most people out of our classmates have either 4 people or 5 people living in the house, which makes a lot of sense to me. If our mode is 4 and 5, and our median was 4.5, and our mean, our average was 4.6, all these numbers are so similar. They're very close to each other because they're all measuring the center of the data. So the last piece of this, once you figure out mean, median, and mode, is the range. And range is something different. Range is a measurement of spread. How spread out are our numbers? And the way we calculate range or spread is we take the largest number and we subtract the smallest number. We just want to know what's the difference between the person with the largest number of people in their house and the smallest number. And you can see from our data points, here's our list of data, that the smallest household has 3 people. and the largest household had 7 people living in it. So a quick calculation for range would be to easily go, what's 7 minus 3 is 4. So we have a range of 4. Not a very big range, a very short spread of numbers. It goes from the smallest house of 3 people to the largest house of 7. So I would say this is a very small range, not a large spread. All right, so I hope this video helps because we're going to move on from collecting data and describing it to using visuals, where we're going to take these data points and all these numbers and we're going to put them into some sort of chart. Maybe box and whisker, or a histogram, or a bar graph. There's a lot of options. So we'll get into that. If you're trying to kind of wrap up your video notes and you want to write something down to kind of summarize everything, this is what I would recommend writing down. Measures of center and spread, mean, median, mode are all measures of the center. So measures of center. And we use them, the reason we collect mean, median, mode is we use them to describe data. So I'm going to write a little note here. We use these to describe data. And range is the measure of spread. So this one's kind of out on its own. It measures spread. Measures spread. And again, we use it to describe data. All of these things are to describe data. And the next step is to visualize data, which means we need graphs. So we'll get there next. All right, I hope this helps. Thanks.